You've probably heard the buzzword 15-minute cities. So the idea is to design neighborhoods so everything you need from your work, your groceries, your schools, your healthcare is a 15-minute walk or bike ride away. And it sounds really convenient and even utopian until you realize what it takes to force that vision into reality. Anna?
I disagree. 15-minute cities don't sound utopian. 15-minute cities basically focus on the idea of housing density, which is packing as many people as possible in a small area. Everything is within reach, yes, but you do give up some comforts. So earmuff the leftists because they love this idea. I hate this idea. I'll explain why after I walk you through what this idea actually entails. So, you know, some housing policies go even further than doing common sense things, you know, like building affordable housing or just increasing housing supply. And if you live in a liberal city, chances are that you've already begun to see signs of infrastructure development of what's being referred to as these 15-minute cities. So what is it? Basically, no more single-family homes on a lot. Apartment buildings or condo buildings. Housing density is really the name of the game. They want to get rid of vehicles and instead replace vehicles with people riding their bicycles or public transit. And again, it's about housing density, public transit, and kind of keeping people super local where they don't have to travel any further than 15 minutes away to get what they need. So here's a video that kind of explains the thinking behind this. Take a look.
Imagine a city where everything you need is just a short walk or bike ride away, a place where work, groceries, schools, and parks are all within a 15-minute radius. Welcome to the concept of a 15-minute city. Currently, 16 cities around the world have committed to implementing a 15-minute city structure, which many believe will be the way of the future. Paris has taken major strides toward that goal by constructing more than 600 miles of protected bike lanes and introducing more green spaces. That kind of infrastructure encourages sustainable ways of getting around, contributing to reduced traffic congestion and a healthier urban ecosystem.
Okay, so you watch that video and 15-minute cities actually look pretty lovely, right?
Utopian.
They look
green space,
tolerable,
I want green space.
excellent. Okay, keep in mind that this model has been successful in European countries. European countries do things differently from American cities. We're going to revisit that in just a second, but first, more details. There's this problem right now with vacant malls. And the idea is, well, why don't we use this as an opportunity to actually have this 15-minute city idea come to fruition? And there's actually an example of it. I want to show you how one mall was actually converted into housing with everything available to its residents. It's right there in the palm of their hands. Let me know if you think this looks good.
Amy Hinion has been living on the top floor of a 3-story mall in Providence, Rhode Island for the past 2.5 years.
What's it like to live at the mall?
It's really great. It's cool to be part of such a historic building and knowing that every single one of these units used to be a shop of some kind.
But living in a converted store does present some challenges.
Here is my very tiny kitchen. It is very small, but it is workable. And one of the interesting things about the units in the building is that because of codes, you can't have any cooking devices with an open flame. So none of the units have stoves or ranges.
Oh, wow.
Do you ever have any concerns about privacy?
Not really. It's something you get used to living in the building, having people coming and going. Everybody has blinds in their apartment that they can raise or lower as they like.
So no, my answer is no. And this is why, okay?
Crazy.
Younger generations are like being pressured to accept a degraded quality of life from previous generations. The green space, I agree, Amy, looks beautiful.
I was being hyperbole. I was being sarcastic.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that.
I didn't either.
Sorry, sometimes my sarcasm is so dry. That's probably happened a bunch of times.
So look, I love parks, right? I love green space. I have nothing against green space. By the way, I just got an electric bike. I have no problem with the bike lanes. The bike lanes are fantastic. So nothing against these things. However, the green space is supposed to be communal and it's supposed to replace what I dream about having one day, which is a yard, right? Which is a place where I can have a little bit of privacy, where I can grow vegetables, where I can just enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet. That's what I aspire toward, right? If that's ripped away from you, what is the point of working hard? I'm just gonna coast at that point.
Right.
If like my quality of life is gonna be garbage, no matter how hard I work, because I'm gonna be forced into living in like an apartment building or a condo building or a building in general for the rest of my life, there's nothing to work harder for, really.
I feel you. It reminds me, so in a previous episode, we talked about how when you trade freedom for security, you deserve neither. And it's the exact same when you trade freedom for convenience, you deserve neither. I would rather be slightly inconvenienced and have all of my freedoms intact than to be slightly inconvenienced. Maybe you need to walk a little bit further. Maybe you need to catch a lift. Maybe you need to ride a bike a little bit further.
Maybe you do want to be in your car and go to work. And by the way, here's the other thing. We live in America. And let's just take a step back and look at the trends among ordinary American workers. They live very far from where they work, right?
People, yeah.
A city like Los Angeles is sprawling. You're not going to turn Los Angeles into a 15-minute city. You're just not.
Newsom's trying, though.
I know Newsom's trying, but Newsom's also full of shit, okay? The other thing that I'll say...
Yeah, he just says anything.
He says anything.
I mean, he's doing it, though.
Okay.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I won't let you go.
No, let's talk about right now. Let's talk about Newsom right now, okay? Newsom with his big grand visions and...
God.
In the state of California, you couldn't build something if your life depended on it, and no example is better than the high-speed rail, which has been a massive disaster for decades.
Right.
We have a little video on that. Let's take a look.
Not one track's been built, right?
Not one track.
Right.
Well, there's a little bit of infrastructure, but take a look at this.
Well, some bad news for California's ongoing high-speed rail project. Yeah, the federal government is pulling $4 billion in funding. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says not a single track has been laid after 16 years and $15 billion spent. He calls the project over budget, behind schedule, and mismanaged.
Okay, we're not going to build 15-minute cities in Los Angeles. Like, it's just a ridiculous idea. California can't get its act together as it pertains to building or even updating the infrastructure we have. Sean Duffy was not being fully honest there. There has been some infrastructure built for the high-speed rail, but it has been a costly mess because they decided to move forward with the project without getting the appropriate permits. There's been litigation every step of the way. It's been very expensive. And originally, the high-speed rail was supposed to connect Los Angeles to San Francisco. They've given up on that entirely. Now it's going to go from Los Angeles to Bakersfield. We don't really need a high-speed rail for that.
Not that far. How far is that, by the way, for people who don't know?
It's not that far, and no one's going to Bakersfield. Okay, I'm sorry.
Capital of the country.
What?
Murder capital of California, Bakersfield.
I don't know.
I'll check it. I'll check it.
It's Kevin McCarthy's old district.
So, like, I just don't understand the need for a high-speed rail from LA to Bakersfield. I understood the need from LA to San Francisco, but obviously that's not going to happen. But anyway, the story isn't even about the high-speed rail. It's about the fact that, you know, there are these grand visions with no real planning.
It's not the murder capital, but they do have elevated crime.
Yeah.
Kern County, where Bakersfield is located, does have one of the highest homicide rates in California. So it's not awesome.
I will say the Kern River is super dope for whitewater rafting if you ladies are ever interested. I mean, California is a beautiful state. It just has terrible leadership.
Yeah.
But going back to the idea of 15-minute cities, you know, not everyone wants to feel like
sardine?
Like sardines, you know? And I think that you should have this, like, here's the other thing. So they want to replace cars with public transit. I would love if LA or cities like LA had efficient, clean, safe public transit. But here's the thing, the left, in my opinion, has this major contradiction on this issue. They keep pushing for 15-minute cities, but they don't want to enforce cleanliness and safety when it comes to mass transit or public transit.
Yes.
And so if you're going to want to get people to co-sign onto this idea, you have to make it enjoyable, safe, clean, something that people actually want to ride.
Building their confidence in it. I was talking to these two last night at dinner about a video I saw that left me so disturbed, where they were talking about how they choose the seating pattern on buses and in casinos in Las Vegas for a very specific reason. It's because when it accumulates with so much dust, it's nearly indetectable. This video I saw is someone literally just hitting a bus seat with a hammer.
Yeah.
Guys, the amount of dust that flew up from out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it would make your, like, I have OCD, but even for the average person, it would make your skin crawl. It's so disgusting.
Have you ever been on an LA Metro
I haven't really used the public transport in LA, so
the dust is the worst. I mean, like the least, I should say, of your concerns.
Oh, really?
The smell of urine, people openly smoking meth, and there's absolutely
Wait, on the bus? They're smoking meth on the bus?
On the Metro,
it's not
all
just
the
Los
time.
Angeles. In Philadelphia, you can get murdered on the SEPT.
Oh, yeah, New York
you
as
can get
well.
raped and assaulted. It's
I mean, Daniel Penny, guys. Daniel Penny literally was nearly thrown in jail and prosecuted for protecting women on a subway.
And I am horrified by especially the footage of the mall thing. I think the problems are absolutely valid. You know, there's a housing shortage and, you know, a lot of cities are not accessible, but the solutions are so Pollyannish.
Yes.
I understand where people are coming from though, because completely infinity% with you on this. But I also want to just speak to the concerns that catalyze these really naive and pie-in-the-sky solutions. It's the eroding purchasing power of the dollar. It's the fact that our generation does not have as much economic power as our parents. So we resort to these really just ludicrous solutions, and people buy it.
Well, part of the problem is housing is just so outrageously expensive because we stopped building.
Yes.
In the 1950s, that was when we first started building tract homes. And the whole idea was we need housing desperately. We are now, like, our population has grown to a point where we need a quick, affordable solution. And thus, the tract homes started being built. I believe California was actually the first state to start building the tract homes. Why can't we do that now? I'm sorry, I don't want to settle for less. I think Americans should have the ability to raise a family in a home with a freaking yard.
Well, I want to talk about the economic environment we're in right now. We're in a high interest rate environment, which completely undermines the impetus to build, unfortunately. So I'm sympathetic to Trump's cries to Jerome Powell to please lower interest rates, but ironically, Trump is the reason why he can't, because of tariffs.
Exactly.
Because everyone is uncertain and very nervous about the regulatory and tax environment, because let's be honest, tariffs are internal tax.
Yes.
We are paying for the tariffs, so no one's going to lower interest rates right now. But you're absolutely right. There's something else I want to mention. It's income inequality, which is accelerating.
Preach it, Lindy. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Which also, it's like a give and take situation with the housing shortage. Our generation, the Gen Z millennials, we cannot afford to buy homes.
And I need people who love riding their bikes or people who love taking public transit to understand not everyone has your worldview, not everyone is comfortable with that, and we need to make space for people and their preferences. We're talking about people's lives and the quality of their life. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I want to ask you guys to put on a tin hat for a second.
Okay.
Okay, now this comes from Grant Cardone. So we
Friend of the pod.
Okay, right. So Grant, after the fires, he's like, this is all by design, right? And he puts out this tweet. We end up talking to him about it. It's a great podcast. Maybe we could link to it in the show notes.
Yeah.
I have a further conversation with Grant Cardone in depth. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's by design? And he connects 15-minute cities to what's going on in California. So now I know you think Newsom could never pull it off, and maybe that's true. But here's the argument. That California is essentially going to become a failed state. And I want to talk about...
Eventually?
Oh, okay, great point. Okay, so hold on. So listen, so what does it mean to be a failed state? So government paralysis, an inability to maintain law and order, to enforce laws, to balance budgets or manage essential services like water, power, fire, and police. A mass exodus, accelerated flight of businesses, taxpayers, and middle-class residents, worsening the tax base collapse, rising crime and corruption. I mean, it's like literally exactly what's happening, right? Infrastructure decay, wildfires, blackouts, homelessness, failing schools, public systems crumble under debt and mismanagement. This is California. Now, arguably, the federal government would have to intervene. If you ask yourself, who would benefit from such a thing? Well, I actually asked Grant, right? Like, why would we want this to happen? Why is this happening? Who would benefit from it is real estate developers.
Yes.
It's freaking real estate developers, okay?
And you know who they
foreign
donate
countries.
to?
And they want to buy
The
on
candidates.
Well,
It's all
okay. So that is who's going to benefit from this. So real estate moguls and global investors will scoop up land for pennies. Federal agencies could seize control of critical infrastructure. Technocrats would have a blank slate to roll out their smart city experiment. Cut to, is it happening? Ready? Do you remember Newsom dancing in the video? Connor, see if you can find this. Vinny made fun of it. As the fires are going on, he's like, we're talking to prospectors. We're looking at deals.
Oh, I
We're talking to
remember
lawyers.
this. Yep.
We're talking to prospectors. Okay, I thought he meant we're going to block all of this. I thought, no way is he telling everybody that as homes are still smoldering, he's talking to friggin' prospectors. Cut to this son of a bitch just gave $101 million to build low-income housing in the Palisades
So
for homeless facilities.
Hold on. So there was so much backlash to that the state legislature
Did they drop it?
Yeah,
It just happened a friggin' week ago.
I know, but like 2 days ago, there was a report on Fox 11,
It's crazy.
local station, where they dropped it because there was so much backlash.
Good.
Look, I'm in favor of building shelters and housing and for the homeless and all of that. I'm not against it. But we're talking about a situation in which the people in the Pacific Palisades desperately want to rebuild their homes.
Yeah, and they make it hard, so you tap
and they
out.
haven't been able to yet.
Yep.
There's all sorts of red tape that makes it
That's
difficult
the
to
game.
rebuild.
Exactly.
So if you're someone who lost everything in the fires in January of this year, and you're hearing that the state legislature isn't taking care of you to help you build your home and instead is like plotting for some other project in your area, how infuriating is
Can
that?
you play it? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
You had some ideas around some land use concerns he
can't
has
stand
around
it.
speculators
Watch,
coming
speculators coming in.
You had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in. You had some ideas around
There's
some
a part where
land
he
use
actually
concerns
says
he
we're
has
working
around.
on it.
Just keep
We're working
replaying
with
it.
legal teams.
It's ridiculous.
And he gets into how they're going to facilitate it. But the thing is, they make it impossible on purpose, so you tap out. I tapped out in 2018.
Just to reinforce what you're saying, I get that this sounds conspiratorial, but honestly, I think about COVID. Okay, so during COVID, I have a family member who owns a small, like, I think it's a 5 or 6 unit building, a rent-controlled apartment building. So the state of California implemented a rent moratorium, which I felt made sense, at least for a temporary period of time. But no, the state dragged it out for several years. And so if you're a mom and pop landlord, you're still expected to pay to maintain the building. You're paying for the utilities of that building for your tenants. But your tenants are free to say, oh, there's a rent moratorium. I don't have to pay you rent. For mom and pop landlords, that's literally their income, right? It's usually some retired person.
It's a death sentence for them. And
Yeah.
The Supreme Court put an end to it, and Biden tried to get around it, didn't he?
Well, he didn't get around it. And eventually,
try, though?
I don't remember, but eventually California did drop it after a few years. But that had devastated a lot of people who needed that income. So you want to know what happened to that family member? Throughout the entirety of the rent moratorium, developers kept reaching out to them endlessly. Let me buy your building. Let me buy your building. And when you're desperate, when you have no income because of the moratorium,
Make you desperate on purpose.
Can I go next?
hold on.
Can I go next?
No, hold on. Let me finish
it.
it. Let me finish it. Okay, so it's a rent-controlled building, right? What do you think the developer is going to do? Developer is going to come in, demolish the rent-controlled building, and then build luxury apartments at market rates that people can't afford.
100%.
Yeah.
That whole explanation just made me have
It's
the
by
craziest epiphany right now,
design.
guys. And again, I'm going to take from Jillian's book. I'm putting on my tinfoil hat, okay? Allegedly, guys. I feel like it was the same thing with Maui because I just put 2 and 2 together.
Yes.
And I knew people personally from Lahaina. What's interesting is that part of Maui is the most tourist-dense spot in all of Maui, which is the second most popular island of all of the Hawaiian islands. Maui no Ka'oi, Maui is the best. That's my personal opinion. But I heard personally from many people that the government did the same thing.
Yes.
They came in, they offered them money, and they were desperate, and so they took it. And I don't know how I'm just realizing this. Are they trying to build a 15-minute city in Lahaina? Because there were many suspicious things about that playing out as well.
Or
the blue buildings
the land.
didn't get burnt. Anything
for
blue
the developers.
That did happen in Lahaina. You're right. That's not conspiratorial at all. And by the way, guys, there's actually a label for this. It's known as disaster capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have to follow up on something that you guys mentioned, actually, you talk about the eviction moratorium.
Yes.
Let me tell you what happened with that. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and Clarence Thomas made the deciding vote. And there's a story behind that. Let me tell you why it's really significant and ties everything together.
Okay.
Because a real estate developer was involved, and not just a real estate developer, one of the biggest in the country, Harlan Crow. Anna, do you remember that controversy?
Wow. Yes.
How he has been he even paid to buy Clarence Thomas's mom's house. And paid for the education of Clarence Thomas's godson. Wow. Not only that, paid for private jet trips, luxury vacations all around the world for Ginny Thomas and Clarence Thomas. It was a decades-long scandal. And it ties back to what Anna was saying about real estate developers, and you brought it up as well with Grant. Let me tell you what happened with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overturned that eviction moratorium, and the reason why they did, in my opinion, first of all, it made sense, but also because Harlan Crow, I believe, owns Clarence Thomas. Well, let me rephrase. Rephrase that.
No, I mean, the corruption is pretty clear. I think you're right.
Yes, yeah. So that was not a judicious word.
So hold on, I'm trying to follow this. But if Harlan Crow is a real estate developer, wouldn't he want to maintain that rent moratorium so that he could make people more desperate?
No, to evict them. He wanted to evict them out.
Got it.
Yes, he wanted to have the freedom to evict people. And I wanted to follow up on something you said earlier about the real estate developers and why is this so significant? I want to put it in the political context because people like Gavin Newsom are running for president, okay? He needs not just millions of dollars, not just hundreds of millions of dollars. He needs billions of dollars. And the real estate industry right now is one of the biggest lobbying groups, one of the most powerful groups financing our elections. That is going on, and that is why people like Newsom are happily doing the bidding of these individuals.
Right. Thank you so much for watching Her Take. If you like the show, can you help us out by subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification button, sharing, commenting, joining the conversation? It helps us out a ton with the algorithm. We appreciate you.